Hello. Hi. Welcome to the quarterly wrap-up, which includes July, August, September, right? This portion, me wearing this shirt, is September 30th. I don't think I'll be reading another book. I won't be finishing the one I started today. So that's a total of 44 books throughout all of that. Yes, I just did the math for that. In a second I'll tell you how many of that was 5 stars. Alright, July was 15 books, August was 11, September 18. All the average ratings in the 3.8 because I hate myself. Right, and 4 were 5 stars. I did read a lot of physical books. Case in point, the pile I'm leaning up against right now on my side. Most of these were in one vlog. These, not this one, but all the other ones I did read before I left for vacation. The top one I read when I got back. And then I read a bunch while I was there between Bestie's library card and the books she has. So yeah, a good chunk were physical books, which is a change for me. That was fun. Other things, I have started Haunting Adeline. I think that's the first book in that series, that duology. And I'm liking it so far. I restarted reading Game of Thrones. I started at one point and I soft DNF'd it. I restarted it. I think I'm like 150 pages or something. Most of that I read on planes on my way there to vacation. And I'm liking it. Other thing. Oh, I did start while I was there. The Simone St. James, it's on my 24 and 24. What is that one? Book of Cold Cases. I think I'm like 9% in. Like, I only read the first few chapters. But, the library loan was due. Also, the only books I bought while I was away, everyone be proud, was the Six of Crows duology. We're very happy. They're right here. So that's that. Other things. Stats. I know people aren't stats nerds like me, so I'm just gonna throw them up for each month on the screen. You can pause if you want to look at them. And whatnot. Also, that will make it so this video isn't 16 billion years long. So, this is July. We're thanking Storycraft for making these now, because lovely, saves me time. This is August. Give editing time. And this is September. Lovely. Yeah. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, I mentioned that this is going to be split up into between 2 days of me filming, right? Yes, to save me time. I'm not going to be listing off these books in particular order, right? Mostly because I split up like reading parts of series throughout different months and stuff like that. So it makes sense if I like read part of a series or continue a series or start a series, talk about all the ones I read of that series at once. So I'm going to be going through this list in a weird way, and that's fine. And we can't forget all the ones I DNF'd. I forgot about that. Other things. I will have the podcast and playlist up above in the cards, but I also have individual vlogs linked below. And I think that should be everything. Do I want to start with the physical books? I don't know. You know what? We're going to start with a good one. We're going to start with My Lady Jane, which is so funny because it was weekend TBR. I picked it up. Knowing nothing about it. I don't even know why I put it in the jar. But I picked it up and I had remembered that there was the show coming out soon, right? Since I read it in the beginning of July, the show has come out and been canceled, despite the fact that it was very popular. And I love that for me. I will still watch it, because I've heard really good things about it, and the book was really good. I dual read it, which was a good decision, because the ebook is like over 500 pages. But 4.5 stars, it was really good, very funny. I loved it. Good times. Should I talk about all the Tokyo Ghouls at once? I will. Alright, looking over the whole entire thing, I read volumes 3, 4, and 5, rereads of Tokyo Ghoul, rated all 3 4 stars. And that's where I left off, mostly because my library has to get more copies of 6 onwards, right? That being said, yeah, I like them. I remembered the arc. I think it was the 3rd one. No, it would have been the 4th one because it was while I was there. The 4th one I picked up. And I was reading and I was like, I remember this plotline of the cannibal trying to eat him. Right? Because he's kind of got a human flesh thing going on. And so I was like, that's just like a random thing. Maybe that's in the next one. No, it was like the last part of that one. And then the next one was them fighting that guy together as a group and whatnot. And yeah, wild times. I really would like to finish the series during October, but we'll see what happens. Alright, we're talking about a random vlog time. We're gonna talk about the vlog that had the most interesting, surprising books. That is The Fish Vlog. I started with Light from Uncommon Stars. I did the audiobook for that one. It was fine, 3.5 stars. It was weird because there's stuff about a demon deal and violins and progeny and what it means to have made it and all this stuff. But also at the same time, the woman who has to deal with the demon is also having a romance with the leader of a space alien group who run a donut shop and are trying to flee from being from a genocide, I think. And there's like, they have like an AI daughter. It's so weird. It was not what I was expecting. It seemed like those two ideas don't mesh well in my brain when I think about that. Does it mesh well in yours? Because like, what? So it definitely feels like that was like 2 separate ideas mushed together. That being said, like, I didn't dislike it. It was just very weird. Like, sometimes I would just forget that they were aliens, and then all of a sudden, alien stuff, and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is also like sci-fi punk donut shop. Like, what? Another one. The one I was most surprised for in this vlog was To Kill a Kingdom. I don't think I'll be reading the sequel because it's not like a connected sequel. But this one is a Little Mermaid retelling, but murder mermaids. Basically she is a siren. And her whole thing is killing princes, specifically taking out their hearts every year on her birthday. He is a prince, but also known as the Siren Killer. And she, abusive mother, who is also Ursula, turns her basically human, to get his heart. And she, unknowns to him, she's a mermaid or siren, and using him to get to this magical thing that will make it so she can kill her mother. Right? And, as this is happening, they also have romance, and it was kind of cute, and I kind of really liked it. And you know what? I'm not gonna ask why my phone just stopped recording. I don't know. What was the other one? Call to the Deep. That's what it is. This one started out great. The first half was a romance, in which she is in this ship accident. She's the only survivor. He is the captain of a fishing crew. They rescue her. He lets her stay at his place while she gets everything set up. She basically starts a whole new life in this town. And romance ensues. They start this romantic thing, and he's very much like, hey, I'm your savior. I don't want to imbalance like thing going on, right? And then next thing you know, she's a mermaid eating people's chunks of like chunk of his out of his ex's leg, and other people are leaning. And I really didn't like some of the side characters. That's the thing. And also, in case you're wondering, they do bang-a-lang when she's in mermaid form at one point. I was traumatized. I did show the cat out. One of the cats. I was cat sitting. I was like, can you believe this shit, Stella? And she was just like, meow. You know, the first half was like 4 stars. The second half was like 2.5. But because of that weird sex scene I had to read, it was mostly cut to black, but it was still fucking weird. I put it down to a 3 star, though the next book is on my TBR. Because I did like it enough. I was wondering what's jangling up here. I just realized it's the little llama thing on my wallet that she gave me, keychain thing she gave me when she was away. Alright, I guess next up I'll do Blood Justice, which is the second book in a series. The first one being Blood Debts. I read the first one via audiobook last year as, I think it was April, because it was during that month where I was reading, like, other than that, that was like the only book I read that wasn't a retelling of some kind, right? And I really liked it. Like, it was a solid 4.5. This was the second book. I thought it was only going to be a duology. I didn't know it was a trilogy. Literally on Goodreads it's still labeled as a duology, so I think Goodreads, maybe it was Storygraph, either one. Weird. This one I didn't like as much. We got more POVs, which was fun, and whatnot, but this one felt slower, and also part of that, I think a lot of it was Notebook syndrome, and a lot of the time I was annoyed because I was like, why is this like going so slow? And that's because I didn't know it was a trilogy. Like, I had to literally Google up if it was to like actually Google, is this a trilogy? And that's when I learned that he was bought as a trilogy, so that's why. And if I had known that, I would have waited until the third book came out. But instead, I just had this slow whatever, and I have to wait for the next one. So 3.5, because I still like it. It was just much slower. And, yeah. Hello, hi, we're back to this shit again. Which my hair is very clearly not dry and living its best life. We're ignoring it. Where I left off, I was going to talk about some poetry books, because I read multiple. Two of which were Mary Oliver's, the first one being Dog Songs. It was good. I read it in a dog park. I recommend 4 stars. I think I rate most of her books 4 stars. If you want, it still has some of the naturey stuff that's typical for her, but mostly it's just like cute dog poems, right? A few sad ones and whatnot. And there's some drawings of dogs. And then I read 1,000 Mornings by her. I also rated it 4 stars, I always do. There was a favorite one from that one. Should I check what it is? Yes. Will I? I did pull up the review on Goodreads, in which I said what my favorite poem was. A thing to note, I did read this one while at a cafe drinking the best mocha of my goddamn life. It was so good. I'll dream about this mocha every day. Anyways, an experience I recommend. Just sipping at a cafe, drinking coffee or tea or whatever while reading it. Speaking of which, I didn't like bring a bookmark with me because like it's a 100-page poetry collection. I can read it in like an hour while sitting at a cafe, right? So I didn't have anything to mark what my favorite poem was, and you know they had the little sugar packet, so I just took one of those to mark the poem, like the page in the book. And so Bessie got a free sugar packet, I guess. Anyways, it was Hum Hum. I remember it devastated me, and I was in the middle of a cafe, and I'd been like, maybe. Yeah, also 4 stars. Other poetry. Don't worry, there were plenty. Don't Call Us Dead. That one is one that's been on my TBR for a long time, but it's basically impossible for me to get here. But Bestie's Library did have it. I think, you know how Storygraph, when you open up Storygraph, has the list or just a random collection of books on your TBR that like cycles or every time you reload that page, right? I think it was like one of the first ones on there, so I saw it and I went, hey, I should check if Bestie's Library has that. Checked it, and it did. So obviously the next day I basically ran to the library and picked it up. I also read that one in the dog park while eating lunch one day. And yeah, it was good. It was what I expected. And also so much more. 4 stars. I very rarely rate poetry collections over 4 stars, and I realize that now. Oh gosh, I thought I was getting close to done. No, we're near close. Kind of poetry in which we get to connect to another topic at the same time. I may have reread the Odyssey while I was there. I do kind of plan to read the Iliad before the end of the year for my classics goal right? I needed to catch up on it, and I was in the poetry section of her library, and it was right there, and I was like, might as well. You know, as you do, keeping my rating at 4 stars. I did not realize how long that book is. Also, I think I got about halfway through just physically reading. I would read either that or the longer graphic novel I will talk about later. Out on her balcony every night as the sun set. But like then I was running low. I had like 4 days left before I was leaving and I needed to finish it, so I did pull up the audiobook and speed finish the rest. But yeah, still good times. I think there's only one other classic. Let me just skim to make sure. Yes, and that is the collection of Sherlock Holmes that Bestie owns. I will put a specific picture of the specific cover that she has. I think this is the one she got when she was living in Ireland, right? And you know, it was a good time. I was having a good time. The last time I like visited her, so last August, I did start it and I got, I think 100 pages in. And so this time I did save where I read to, and I just continued, picked up from there. So that's why my average reading of my own, or average reading days for the books for September was like 28. Because technically that one was like 500 days. Anyways, 4 stars. I really liked all of them. I will say that. I liked all of them. I don't think there was one I disliked. It was very interesting reading the, I can't remember the name of it, but the one with Irene Adler. Because like, I've heard things in the grapevine in comparison to the BBC show, right? And so it was fun reading it and be like, oh, yeah, they did fumble the bag. I get more of the bisexual dominatrix, but like, bam. So yeah, read that, and that goes into another category where we get to talk about that very long graphic novel I read. Because another thing that I've wanted to read that she owns, is her favorite graphic novel that's over 500 pages. Technically, it's 2 books in one, which is Berlin. It's 570 pages. I sat down thinking I could read it in one day, and then when I didn't finish it that first day, I was like, well, I can finish it tomorrow. It took me like 3 days. Yeah, I did read it. In my naive headcanon, because this does take place right before World War II, they all end up back in Berlin together, because one of the main characters left Berlin at the end. So she ends up coming back. They all survive, and her 2 lovers throughout the book are a throuple, and they live happily ever after. That's my naive headcanon. I told that to Bestie, and Bestie was going through food poisoning, and was like, yeah, I'll go with that one too. Anyways, it was good. It was really long, but it was good. 3.75 stars. I did really like it. Other graphic novels, there's a lot of them, so beware. Some of them are part of the same series, so I'm going to do, I think, the one that isn't part of that series, and I'll go into those. In which we get to talk about, I think, my least favorite book. Okay, I was gonna say my least favorite book the whole time, but no, there is another 2-star in July. I have a funny story about that one. What? Oh, I remember what my favorite book of the month in July was now. I remember. It's in the physical pile. North Ranger, which is a retelling of Northanger Abbey, but gay, set in Republican Texas, right? Following a Mexican boy working on a farm, where he falls in love with the owner of the farm's son, and they start a relationship. And hear me out, it wasn't my favorite already, and then we have the good old Bi Erasure, in which I read it during Bi Visibility Month. That is just rude. I took off my bi nails today because it's no longer Bi Visibility Month, but that's rude. That's rude. You know, I didn't like it before that, and then I still didn't like it. Like, a lot of stuff was just left open. Like, what happened to his dad? Right? Like, right? I did appreciate, I thought they were gonna do it where, the main character's stepdad has been very homophobic, microaggression-y, but sometimes straight up aggression-y, saying some slurs to the TV, right? And so when he comes out to his mom, and him as well, and he's all like, oh, I will always support you. Why didn't you tell us sooner? And he's like, really? Because I wouldn't have guessed that from the shit you say. Like, I really was expecting them to be like, oh, he protected him from this even more outwardly homophobic guy, and that's clearly homophobia. And so this guy can't be homophobic because he's not as bad as that guy who tried to physically hurt a child who's gay. So therefore, he's not homophobic. I thought that was the route they were going to do. They were going to be like, see, he protected him from the homophobic guy, so he's not homophobic. But no, he really goes, yeah, but I wouldn't guess that because of the things you say. And then he goes, oh, you right. Okay, I'm sorry. That's one thing I will appreciate it. That being said, yeah. Yeah. Also, hear me out. The whole Northern Year Abbey is my favorite Jane Austen that isn't Pride and Prejudice. And the whole comedy of that is the satire. It's satire the whole time. This did not understand the assignment. And I had thoughts and opinions, okay? And that's where I'll leave that off. Other graphic novels. I read books 2, 3, and 4 in the Fence series. Bessie's Library had 1 through 4. I read 1, I think, in like the last few days of 2023, trying to get to my 200 goal for the year, right? And I was like, it's fine. I probably won't continue the series. 3 stars. And so I picked them up because they're fast reads. And basically it follows, this one guy who is the secret half-brother of this fencing champion of the world, right? Of their age group, like Olympic level fencer. And so his whole goal is to finally go up against him and beat him so that he can be recognized by his own dad. But also, while doing this, he is at a school. For the first, I think, 3 books is just competitions to get into the team on the school. At which point he is competing, but also roommates with the kind of friend, kind of enemy of his half-brother, who is, like, one of the only people to almost beat his half-brother, like, so all this stuff. And there's kind of an enemies to lovers thing going on there. Kind of cute. I'm kind of into it, right? There's a bunch of side characters also with like secret romances. There's the pretty guy who sleeps around, and everyone can tell like his best friend who's the captain of the team and him kind of have like a flirtation. But they won't, like, the whole reason why he sleeps around is because he doesn't want to ruin that friendship, because he's not relationship material. That's what everyone tells him. So like he doesn't want to ruin that relationship by trying to make it romantic, all this stuff. I think his name's CJ, who is his roommate, the main character's roommate, very quickly he's like, hey, wait a second, you kind of, the way you move is kind of like the one guy to beat me in a competition. And he's all like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, wait till he learns. You know, it's fun, cute banter. I was still continuing to be bored half the time, because I'm like, if I am reading a gay sports team romance thing, I could have just read Check Please, right? Again, they also had those, and I didn't do it. It would have been the 3rd time. But, yeah, no, instead I read books 2, 3, and 4 in the Fence series. And 2 and 3 I was still very bored, because it was still the same trials to get onto the team. 3 stars for both of them. But then the wildest thing happens in book 4. At the end of book 3 they get on the team, and in book 4 they go to another school for a competition in which everyone's surprised and they win. And they all learn lessons, and there's friendship and camaraderie, and it's cute. I don't know what fucking happened. 4 stars. I will be continuing. There's 5, I think there's 6 out now. I don't know if there's another one planned at some point, but I will at some point soon try to read 5 and 6. Right, and if I do, it will be in the finishing series vlog. I want to do it before that vlog, so, right, that'd be nice. Finish a goddamn vlog, me. I think, is there only one nonfiction on the list? Yes, oh my god, it all fits on just my iPad page, finally. I think this is, I was gonna say this is only DNF, that's a lie. Me, do you not remember that vlog where you DNF'd every single book? I guess I'll go through the DNFs then. Next. The Trick and the Dead, Life and Death Behind Mortuary Doors, nonfiction. I've read 82 pages of it. There's another title, I don't remember what it is. It was for one of the book clubs I'm in a few months ago. Kind of reminds me of this other book. I think it's something Death Row. That was also for the same book club. And, in which you can tell she has, like, skill in writing, but not this type in writing. And she touches on subjects that are interesting. Working as somebody in the mortuary field, especially as a woman, or death row field as a woman, for the comparison, and like statistics and stuff, and like briefly mentions them, and then just like never talks about them again. And this happens so many times in this book, where it's like a subject I'm interested in, or topics like that, and they just be dropped, and instead, at least once a page, she talks about how she's a tiny blonde woman, and that freaks people out, because why would a tiny blonde woman work with dead people? All the time. It was so annoying. It was so annoying to the point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. So I DNF'd it. Thank you, for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, I didn't like it. I think the general consensus of the book club that month was it was fine for those who finished it, and those who didn't. Like, it wasn't spectacular. I don't think anybody rated it highly. Hey, so we want to talk about the Wings vlog? Well, I already did a Wings vlog. Since Sex of Crows. But People with Wings on the Cover vlog. Which I DNF'd all 3 books. Hush Hush. I got 2 hours into the audiobook. It had clearly every pet peeve I have for a YA romance / paranormal YA romance. I was telling the fish about it as I was reading it, and it is totally their type of book. It is not a me book, it is a them book. I DNF'd it, I moved on with my life. I was like, I cannot do this. I kept on trying to push through it. I was like, no. No, somebody save me. So yeah, I DNF'd that one, obviously. And then I started The Sun Bear Trials by Aiden Thomas. I got 72 pages in. I feel bad about this one. This was like right before the sequel came out too. I felt really bad because I love Cemetery Boys. I love Aiden Thomas. But I don't think it was for me. I am very particular about my YA, especially YA fantasy at this point in my life. I mean, I'm 25 now. Like, what do we expect? So because of that, it was just like the few little things happening, especially some side characters, where I was just like, they are gonna annoy me the whole book, and I'm not gonna be able to enjoy myself. And I don't got time for that in my life. And I'm sad about it. And my general consensus with that one is, it's a me issue. Go read it. That's the general consensus of the vlog. Actually go read it because it's actually really well written. It's just a me issue. Okay? I will try again at a later point. And then the other book for that vlog was A Dance with the Faith Prince by Lisa Kova. I honestly don't know if I'm going to continue with this series. The Married to Magic series. Because I heard the vampire one also isn't good. The first one was great. Remember that one? They brought up the characters from that book shortly before I DNF'd this one. And I was like, oh my god. I miss them. I got 120 pages in. Yeah, I really tried. It's like Cinderella kind of retelling where, listen, Cinderella retellings are really difficult for me. But her mother basically sells her to this old rich man, that doesn't let her see him and all this stuff. And she eventually starts, like, having a life there. She's living her life. They are friendly towards each other. She hasn't seen him, but, like, they talk occasionally, all this stuff. And then her sisters show up, and they're all like, oh my god, I can't believe, like, you haven't seen him. You're so naive and such a... and she listens to them and then like goes and wants to see his face and then stuff. Secretly he had all this time. The whole reason for the marriage was for him to get this book that was her mother's. Clearly she's half fae. Like, obviously that is how she has the book. Her mother's fae. And he needs the book to get his magical powers back so that he can defeat this evil sorceress. Blah 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 blah. Right? But she, and like part of the plan was that he would leave everything in her name. So like he would be presumed missing and or dead, and then she would get everything and be able to live her life as a rich woman and have everything, including a giant fucking library. Girl. But she decides to interrupt the whole entire spell they're doing and gets the power from the book, and it doesn't go to him, it goes into her. So now they have to take her into Faelands to try and talk somebody into getting the magic out of her without killing her, hopefully. And also the whole entire time all his other Fae friends are just laughing at her because she's clearly gonna die at any moment because she's just a human. But like, weirdly enough, there's like rumors that like humans can't eat Fae food, but she's able to eat Fae food. But one thing I'll give her, she was hiding the fact that she was eating it. She was like, it doesn't taste like I'm gonna throw up constantly, so I might as well eat it and see what happens. And they're like, okay, but in her head she's like, this actually tastes kind of good. I did like that. Yeah, no, listen, there was no romance happening at this point. Though what was happening was she would be a human being and he would be like, you fucking idiot, stop being human being, you're bringing me down. And for where I left off / reviews I read, I know that she gets endangered, he has to save her, blah 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 blah, a lot of fighting. Oh no, they like each other now, kissy near the end. I'm good. I don't need it in my life. I'm scared about reading the rest of the series. I don't know about that one. If you've read the vampire one, let me know. The other DNF is from the vlog where I read mystery thrillers from Kindle Unlimited. This is the one I chose just because my sister kept on telling me to read it, and she told me afterwards, yeah, it is kind of really annoying. I probably should have said you wouldn't like it. The other ones are better. That's The Housemaid. I got 160 pages in. Damn. Okay. I really gave it the call to try. It was the point where she was doing the infidelity plotline, and it was clear that he was gonna be the secret bad guy, like, obviously. And I was like, infidelity plus obvious plot, I'm done. And then I looked up what happens, and I was like, okay, I think if it was well written, I could have enjoyed it. Like, it gives everything of, like, what I would enjoy if I enjoyed the writing and or the characters more. But it was not subtle with its approach at all. It was really in your face about it, which brings up another book from the same blog, which is Hidden Pictures. Similar vibes. Where it's like a woman who has a dark past, and because of that she has like really nowhere else to go, so she works for this family, right, that has a weird kid and a mom and dad, and the dad is kind of flirty, right, hitting on the new younger employee. Meanwhile the mom's just like trying to live life, and sometimes really rude to her, but it was much more subtler about it. And also the drawing's spectacular. Oh, I was actually freaked out what the kid was drawing, like what the fuck. The revelation, yep. I get why people don't like it for the trans issue. I get it. I gave it 4 stars, but I understand why, and valid. And that's where I'm leaving that. I do go full spoiler in that vlog, so like if you want to know, you can know. And then the other book for that vlog was Local Woman Missing. That one was just a random pick, I'm pretty sure. I just saw it and I was like, I want to read that. Which follows a woman goes missing, and then shortly after that, another woman and her daughter go missing. And it follows, who does it follow? It follows the neighbor as the investigation, like right after that, the mother and daughter go missing, the neighbor, as like she goes missing and the investigation about it and all that stuff. The son that was left behind along with the dad, the son, who is now like 16 after the daughter was presumably found alive. And we do learn that the mother died, assumably of suicide. She was found. And who was the other? Oh, and the mother's POV, months before she goes missing and dies, where she's being stalked and a bunch of other stuff is happening. The twist. I had a guess, and I was kind of right, but, like, that does not negate all the other twists that I did not get, because, like, they were out there, fam. It was a wild time. It was really good. I'd recommend 4 stars. Do we want to start talking about physical books to give me a break? First one, reread of this bad boy. I'm gonna move this one to the bottom. Gotta talk about that one later. Songbird Ballad of Snakes, it's on my 24 and 2024. I want to reread the original trilogy before I read it, so I downloaded the audiobook, and this is obviously my very beat up copy. Technically my sister's copy. We also have Catching Fire. We have the whole trilogy. We can't find Mockingjay. So I'm gonna be dual reading the first 2, and then the last one, I guess I will just do audio. But yeah, no, this is so good. I will talk about it later. I guess I'll talk about it next. There was another book that I was also reading at the same time, and I kept on not bothering to pick up that one and just picking up this one again, because, like, so good. Also, I love how, I think that's my 3rd read. First time, I was like a teenager. Second time, during pandemic. This is the 3rd time. I am 25 years old. So I can recognize some things a little more than I did, at least the first time. Possibly the second time, because that was also during the pandemic depression. Like, it was August that year, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about, that fog brain. Yeah, so I'm picking up odd other things, and I'm just like, Suzanne. Also, they did bring up how Haymitch is, like, not a big, large guy, so, like, how could he have won his games, blah, blah, blah. He must have outsmarted them all. Which, like, lends to the whole fact that he's, like, playing all these people, by doing this whole romance arc, between him and, or between Katniss and Peeta in this. And I'm just saying, that just made me more excited for the next one, the new one, that's coming out. And also, I did laugh when he was, like, when they were doing the interviews, of all the contestants. I don't remember the actual term. And he was talking about how he has a crush on a girl, but he doesn't think winning will do anything because she came there with him, cough, cough, Katniss, right? And I was laughing because I was like, this man's, and during these interviews, he always just drops the biggest bomb that freaks everyone the fuck out, and they're all like, oh my god. It was first that he's in love with Katniss, the next one's gonna be, if it weren't for the baby. God, I love that scene in the movie. That whole movie is spectacular. That's one thing. I do prefer the movie to the book of Catching Fire. So we'll see. If I like it more the 3rd time around. That being said, Mockingjay I did prefer the 2nd time around. So I did up it. I think the 2nd time, I made Hunger Games go up from 4 to 5. Which I'm keeping it at 5, by the way. And then Catching Fire I brought from a 5 to a 4 because I rated it off of the movie. Let's be real, because it was years after I had already read it. And then Mockingjay I brought from a 3 to a 4. So, we'll see what the change of ratings are. But yeah, reread this recently. Very good. Still, my copies are so beat up. What the fuck is wrong with me? The book that I was, like, reading at the same time and I didn't want to pick up was In the Weeds by B.K. Morrison, which is going to be in a future vlog. Cough, cough. Obviously finishing series. And I almost DNF'd it. Like, I was so annoyed every time I had to pick it up because I was bored. It got to the point where I bit the bullet, downloaded the audiobook, and was doing mind-numbing drawing stuff, for Twitch, so that I could, like, read it and not just be bored out of my mind. Basically, it's a social media woman from the first book and the farmer on the farm. They had a bang-a-lang-a-lang session like a year or so prior. She comes back to town because she wants to be happy again. And they eventually start a relationship, blah, blah, blah. It was so boring. I was so bored out of my mind. I don't know what's going on with her writing and me being bored out of my mind, but yeah. I will give the third one a try, just because off the synopses, that one is the one that seems most by speed. But if I don't like it, I mean, there's a good chance I will just stop after that one, because I actually give zero cares about the fourth one. It doesn't follow the three main characters, so, like, why does it matter? Right? I'm pretty sure that one's, like, if I had to guess, it's the guy from this one's sister and the girl from the first one's brother. If I had to guess. I don't know. It reminds me of, the Knock 'Em Out series, which thankfully this one's much shorter, but, like, Christmas instead of spring. That's what this series reminds me of, because it all follows this one farm with a Christmas tree farm. Yeah, I was not having a good time with that one, so 3 stars. Moving on. We gotta talk about the finishing series vlog that I did in July. I don't actually know what month it came out in. It was a version in which I just did physical books, finishing series. And it overlaps into the 24-hour vlog that I also did. First one, P.S. I Still Love You, 3 stars. I ended up having to download the audiobook despite the fact that it's like that early 2010s YA audiobook where the female narrator makes her voice super high to make it seem like she's younger. And it's just like, no, just do your normal fucking voice. We can all, like, suspension of disbelief, right? Like, no, stop, shut the fuck up. I did it anyways because I was not having a good time. This was like the first book I read in July, so it's been a while. Like 3 whole months. Hear me out. I would like to know. I did try the second movie and I didn't like it. Like, I love the first movie. I really like the first book. Yeah. Is Pete her? The guy from the first book, he was a jerk and the worst boyfriend ever the whole entire book. Like, I was despising him. I was like, you keep on bringing around and hanging out with your ex-girlfriend who happens to be her horrendous bullier, like, or bully. Yeah, like, obviously she's not gonna be happy about it, my dude. And then you won't, like, I get why he wouldn't tell her. Like, valid reasons. Like, it's her secret, blah, blah, blah. But, like, my dude set up fucking boundaries. I get he's a teenager. But Laura Jean keeps on trying to tell him this stuff, and he's just like, no. And then also the fact that, is his name John? The new guy in this one? And the two of them restart a friendship, and he kind of likes her, but she's dating Peter, and there's this whole thing where Peter and her have broken up, and it's at the end of the book, and he shows up at this event that she's throwing, at where she volunteers, and John, I hope that's John Ambrose? That actually may be right. His grandmother, I think it is, goes there, or lives there or something, so, like, he was helping her out with the event. And Peter's like, what are you doing here? She's like, bitch, I've told you about this for, like, 12 times. I tell you about it all the time, and you just ignore me. You're just like, come to my games. Like, even his ex-girlfriend, who he's there with, / her bully, knew that she was gonna be there more than he did. But shut the fuck up, 3 stars. I really disliked him. And so that worries me for the next one, but I kind of want to get it out of the way, right? That makes sense. Next up, we can talk about my favorite book of July. I finally fucking did it. I've been reading this series since I was like 14. I have issues. I don't like finishing things. The good news is, he has so many fucking books out now that I will, this is nowhere near the end. I would let you know, the funniest part about that whole entire vlog is me reading this and going, I know Nico and Leo can't die because I know they survive, and those are my 2 most favorite boys. These are my sons. So everything will be fine. I know they're in future books. I know they can't die. Like, Bessie's reading another book right now in the series in which he is having relationship issues with Calypso, and I go, what the fuck? That's not my son. That's not my son. To then, the stuff that happens at the end of this book, I'm not gonna say what it is. I do talk about it in the vlog, but the things that happen, Rick Riordan really went, you want bet? Kind of funny. Kind of really funny. Yeah, no, this is 5 stars. Fucking obviously. I have a few of the Magnus Chases and the Apollos. I've been collecting the Apollos from thrift stores, actually. Hilariously. I keep on finding the hardcovers at thrift stores for like 25 cents. So obviously I'm gonna get them. And then I have I think the first 2 Magnus Chases. But I kind of want to reread the Egyptian series before I move on to those. I don't know. But yeah, no, 5 stars, fucking spectacular. I don't know how Rick does it. I was honestly like, in the last, like, because this is 516 pages, and I was like 100 pages left. I was like, how's this ending in this book? What? But he did it. He did it. And it was in a way that felt fulfilling, right? Like, let's go, man. I reread the Alloway vlog because I decided to, I mean, it had been like 2 years and I wanted to make progress in the Mistborn series. Let me tell you, I definitely did. I think I upped my rating to 4.5. You know, this is spectacular. I love this. I still don't know if it's just me who really specifically loves this series or this part of the series. Like, my other Mistborns are up here. The third one fell over. Ignore it. Because these ones go right there, obviously. I think if I were to reread those ones, which I don't know if I would lower them to 4 stars. And this one would be 4.5, because this is definitely my favorite Brandon Sanderson I've read so far. Well, there's a thing we will talk about. I'm not going to talk about it because it's technically the middle of a series, but also the beginning of a new series. I still have not read the 4th one. I know. I'm so sad, because I kept on... The person who had the 4th one out at Bestie's Library and was supposed to return it on like the 9th of September while I was still there. I still would have had 4 days to read it. But then he like extended his loan. I'm assuming it's a man. I'm sorry, random person. And then so I was gonna go take the bus to one of the other train station or one of the other libraries that did have in at the moment, because you could use the library card at any of the locations, right? But guess what? San Diego had a heat wave. And by the point the heat wave ended, I was like, so done. I was like, I give up. I do have the ebook from Libby right now. I just gotta sit down and read it. Which is gonna be an issue because I have an issue with endings, but like also, I'm also scared to like, this bad boy's coming very close. She's like 1,000 pages. I'm scared. I was looking at how long the other books in that series are, and I'm like, ew, I'm scared. Brandon, why? Honestly, I then went to Shadows of Self. I'm gonna be serious with you. I did not like pick it up. I did not like either of these as much as Halloween of Law. In the morning, by the way. I rated both of them 4 stars. They're still good. Like, don't get me wrong. This one's over 500 pages. The next one's gonna be over 500 pages too, isn't it? Oh, Brandon. I think we're friends now. Brandon. Honestly, how does his brain work? Because we'll talk about it in a second, but good God, sir. Yeah, I rated both of these 4 stars. I liked the fact that Wax, won the plot twist of, like, his past, or, like, the whole reason why he's heartbroken and the way he is was set up by the blah blah blah, not saying things, spoilers. Yeah. But also the whole aspect where like Wax is kind of the villain. Like he is like, it gives me the vibes of, is it the Spider-Man? Or not Spider-Man, Superman. You know what I'm talking about in the DC universe, where like also Civil War would count. Right? That whole thing where like he's the superhero like in this world, right? But like the everyday people who have to like clean up his messes, or like the police who have to like answer to other people, are like, oh my fucking God. Right? Like that whole vibe that I didn't like as much, but I still did enjoy. especially since the way that it affects the other characters, like, in the books, how his actions and how him being the superhero affects their lives, right? And he's just, like, so oblivious to it. That was kind of cool. Interesting. Dude, what was happening with the other race in this book? And the weird ship? Yeah. Also, at the very ending, there was a hint at something that happens in the novella in between books 3 and 4 in Miss Ward Era 2. And I was literally screaming, freaking out. And I will talk about it in a minute, but not yet, because we gotta talk about another book. Because in the same vlog, I started, where is it? Portrait of Scotsman. This is the historical romance series that got me into reading historical romance. Was the first book in the series. It has a special place in my heart because of it. I haven't reread it since then, and I don't think it stands up as much as it does in my brain. Like, but it has that factor in which, like, it got me to read historical romance in the first place, and I'm addicted. If you will tell, because there are 2 historical romances that I rated 5 stars. We're not talking about it, but we will. That being said, Rogue of One Zone is up here in my annotated pile of Book of the Month books. That is, like, one of my favorite historical romances ever, right? Like, it can compete with some of my favorite Tessa Veers. I love it so much. I don't know if this is gonna go in the unhaul pile. I may keep it, but I don't own the 4th one, so, like, why would I keep this one? And even if I get it, I'm not gonna get a Book of the Month edition, because Book of the Month is on my shit list. So, like, it wouldn't match. 1, it's so fucking long. 2, the first, like, 25% and the last, like, 10% was just so annoying of him not treating her like a human fucking being with body autonomy. The middle portion, when they actually communicate, it was cute. I did find myself liking it. Here's the thing. I started it in that same vlog, but then I decided not to finish it at that moment in time, because I was like, I am not enjoying it. Took a break, right? I ended up finishing it in the 24-hour vlog, right? I think this is the last book I read in it. I, like, took breaks and read other things, but I was, like, constantly picking it up, because eventually, once the romance actually started romancing, when they started communicating, I was like, actually, I think a good freaking time. Can you believe it? I know, right? Who am I? And so, yeah, I finished in that. I'm getting my mac and cheese. The first, like, quarter and the last 10% is, like, 2 stars. The middle, where they actually communicate, 4 stars. So, averages out to 3. Yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions on that. Another thing I read during that same vlog. Obviously not the whole thing. Which one is it? Is it The Secret History? Is that what it's called? Yes. I miscalculated when I went to read it for it at, like, midnight how long it is. It's about 100 pages longer than I thought it was. So I was like, I can read this in, like, an hour or 2. Bitch, I was reading until 4 in the morning. Let me tell you, I was wide fucking awake. I don't know why I'm holding this. I should have put the cover up, because it's not this whole thing. It's just The Secret History. Okay, I gotta take another break in a second to eat my mac and cheese before my dog steals it. But, yeah, no, I read it in all one sitting. I was wide awake the whole time. If you know anything about this short story, no, it's a fucking novella. This novella, it's that. It is very lore heavy. The thing that happens at the ends of Bands of Mourning that made me go, wait, what? About a character from the original trilogy is what this is about. It's basically the original trilogy from that character's POV. Except that some stuff happened to him in the first one. So, like, what? How is it his POV? And so then you get to read 3 books worth of content that is just background lore. There's other planets. The Cosmere was brought up for the first time. I was screaming. I was sitting in my chair, laying there, just like, oh my god, what? Oh my god, what? They were like, he was like a ghost, technically, playing pranks on people to steal things, and then, like, fighting. He becomes a god at one point. Wild. The wildest thing. I loved it. Is actually my favorite thing from the Cosmere I've read. / Brandon Sanderson I've read. 4.5 stars. Fucking spectacular. I think there's only other one thing I read. Yeah, there is. I hate myself for it. This one is a podcast episode. Is this the first podcast episode book? It's Severance. I thought it was gonna be Severance. I thought it was gonna be like Pew, where it's a it's like kind of dystopian horror thriller thing. Kind of was. It's so slow. It's so slow, and I don't know why I didn't like it. I really can't put my finger on it, because like it technically has everything I would enjoy, but it wasn't my favorite. I rated it 3 stars. I was just annoyed half the time. I was bored the other half. Trying to describe it to the fish was also interesting, because I was like, yeah, stuff happens, but like also nothing happens at the same time. And not in a way I enjoy. So 3 stars, and that's that. I'm gonna go take a break, and then I will talk about books that are podcast episodes or will be podcast episodes. How about that? That seems like a good plan. My iPad needs to charge anyways. And what are you licking? Better be yourself and not my bowl. Alright, when she's done. Only fucked up one of my nails in the process. It was, of course, the pinky. I slightly fucked up others, but like I was able to smooth them back out. It's fine. Plus they're good. I don't think you can tell. It's hella glittery. I think it's only a me notice thing. Where were we? We were other podcast episodes. Rolling in the Deep. Technically I'm going to do both of these back to back. This is the novella. This is a reread. I think I upped my rating to a 4.25 from a 4. It was good. The audiobook's really good. It's a good book. I recommend Murder Mermaids. Right? Speaking of Murder Mermaids, I also read Into the Drowning Deep. That's not an episode yet. Though it will be in October. But it's preemptively read, and I took notes. I was slightly annoyed having to read it again to take notes, because a lot of it is just sciencey stuff. Like, how to just... I literally just wrote a paragraph that was like, there's a bunch of sciencey stuff that kind of explains how these mermaids could exist. Kind of reminds me of Subnautica in that aspect. Cool. Moving on. Because there's just a lot of exposition of sciencey stuff, which is cool in the book, but like annoying when you try to take notes for a podcast, right? I think I also upped the rating of this one from a 3 or 3.5 to a 4. I'm like slowly moving Anna Karenina slowly off this pile. I also did the audiobook for that one. I managed to get it. It's good. Read it while I was on vacation. The end. The other 2 star. It happened one summer. I have a funny story about this one. The store that I got these 2 books at. Did I put the picture of me at the store? If I didn't, I will now. Bessie was bored in the store, probably looking around, and was just looking at books and saw It Happened One Summer. I'm pretty sure it was It Happened One Summer. I don't think it was another Tessa Bailey. I think it was that one. I had just told her the story of us reading It Happened One Summer, and how the fish hated me, how Stingray hated me, because of how they hated it, and I forced them to read it, and it was like 11 hours long and all this stuff, and we both rated it 2 stars. It was not good and all this stuff, and I think it's a funny episode of the podcast, right? I tell her this. Don't tell her what book it is. I just told her the author. She is looking at this pile of books or table of books, and she sees It Happened One Summer, and she goes, this book is something the fish would enjoy just by looking at it. Now, the other day, we had been puzzling, and she posted a picture of her cat with a puzzle and put it on her Snapchat story. And so because of that, because the fish wanted to see it, they became Snapchat friends. So, Bestie Snapchatted a picture of It Happened One Summer and sent it to the fish, saying, I think you'd like this book. This seems like something you would enjoy. And the fish went, oh my god, it's a horror movie. Why would you do this to me? You know, I was just in the background as they're both messaging about, well, one was telling me in person about this, the other one's texting me about it, as I'm just, like, looking at books. And that is the best thing about this book. I don't get the hype. Will I read the next one? I will try. I will try it. If I don't like it, so sad. What is the Window Shopping? That's the other Tessa Bailey I've read that I, like, almost rated 5 stars and I loved last year. I honestly have to reread that to make sure I'm not going crazy. Like, what happened to this book? This book has all the characteristics of a book that I would love. And yet, it was so insufferable. Also, the smut was actually disgusting. Like, I literally was gagging and I had to skip, like, I was skipping through the sex scenes, which was, like, the second half of the book, basically. You know, it not good. Also, kind of Call to the Deep, and it have a lot in common. But hear me out, the romance in that one's good. So yeah, the greatest thing about that book is a joke. Or a thing that happened that actually has absolutely nothing to do with the book. And then the last one is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. I think Bestie sent me a picture of this second one, because one of our neighbors, when we were roommates, was reading it, and she was like, hey, this seems like something you'd like, especially for the podcast, because one of the few books she knows about is Dino Stud and Ice Planet Barbarians. And actually, she listened to the first Ice Planet Barbarians. That's so funny. And The Crack and Smut. Okay? So she saw that and she was like, this is something you'd like, especially for the podcast. And I was like, you're right. It's already on the list to do at some point. And so I read the first one. I did see the sequels at that same store, which is very funny. And let me tell you, one, I was not expecting Demon to be a fucking dragon. What? Two, yeah, it's good. It's funny. And it knows it's funny. Like, it knows what it's doing. It's good. I like it. I think there's a sci-fi version series of the same vein, and I just saw Katie Robert reading the new one, the one that's about to come out or just came out or something like that, and they really loved it, which means good things. I'm going to continue reading them. I don't know if it'll be for the podcast or just me. We'll see if there's time, but I may just read them and take notes and then fit them in when I can, type thing. But yeah, 4 stars. It was good. It was good. I guess on the vein of weird smut. Okay, so I accidentally created a book club. This starts in August. I think maybe it was July. No, it was July. I had heard about this book and called Forked. And I wanted to do a solo vlog where I just spend the whole time talking about and reading this one book. And I did it. I did that. I was telling other people about it, the people I talked to, like, every day about it, and they were like, this sounds like a great, funny book to read. Let's all read it. And then they all read it, and the person who hosts the Discord does have a book club in it, or the book cult, but nobody was, like, doing anything in it. And so then she gave me full reign. I'm the server librarian now. I have a rainbow donut. I have titles and power and a pink name. And I run a book club now. In which we did just read the sequel. We'll talk about it. So, like, there was this whole thing where I read it much earlier than the rest of them because I'm a speedy reader. Also, they're super fast. They're, like, 170 pages for both of them. And, yeah, read them in, like, one sitting. They're so good. Honestly, you should read them. Don't even, like, watch my vlog, read them. There's things where super soldiers experimented on from World War II turn to cutlery, and the only way that they can turn back is by being inside a woman one way or another, if you get my drift. Yeah, one of my greatest notes to fame in this group is saying the fork vibrates in all caps. Like, this is my legacy now. And it doesn't help that that video went up while I was away. And while I was there, I was just, like, having fun, hanging out with friends, going out, and getting really good food every night, all this stuff. And occasionally, I'd open up the YouTube Studio app to see oh, I'm getting over 300 views a day on this one video. It has over 2,000 views. I don't know what happened. I don't know who I am anymore. Also one of the people in the group, is in contact with the author. I don't know what's going on with that. So yeah, I read it. 4 stars. It's great. Fucking read it. Of the weird object romances, it's really good. She knows what, she went camp with it, okay? And it's good. Speaking of, I read Spooned. So Spooned came out September 9th, I believe. Yeah. So that was the book for September. And I read it in one day. I went to the store. I bought myself a sparkling white wine. I didn't know it was sparkling at the time. And a frozen pizza, and I ate a whole frozen pizza and drank the wine while recording another vlog while I was there, while I was cat sitting. That's next week's video, just so you know. And I would like you to know, yeah, no, I prefer the spoon over the fork. Yes, there's gonna be one on Knifed in the 3rd book. The last one for now. She did hint in the beginning of Spooned, of there being more. So, you know, go fucking read them so that there's more, because I am obsessed. Thank you very much. But yes, Knifed is going to be a whole thing for November, because I thought that'd be funny for Thanksgiving. I'm funny sometimes. What can I say? Actually, that vlog is really funny, in all honesty. Also, I didn't realize at one point the cats are going up the stairs behind me. That vlog, it's so funny. The whole thing's edited. Yeah, no, that was an experience. I read both of those. They're both 4 stars. They're really good. Fucking read them. I don't want to say weird romance, but a book that I also am in contact kind of with the author. I got an arc from the author. It's a self-published book. Of A Demon's Book of Shadows. The book comes out October 11th, I believe. I think so. Right? And so, hear me out. It is a witchy romance with a demon. The one witchy romance I have read, I did not like, so I was hesitantly going into it. I was like, okay, let's see. Yeah. I picked it up on my flight back from SoCal, and flights. It's like 12 hours between the airports and all that fun stuff, and driving home, and ugh. But let me tell you, I got like over halfway through, I think. I read 203 pages of this book, in which I was obsessed. I was literally on the plane from my layover back home, right, the second flight, texting Bestie as I'm like, where's the smutty scenes? I haven't had smutty scenes. She's having a panic attack. Oh no, now they're banging in a plane. Or not in a plane, in the shower. And a bunch of funny jokes about... We were being funny. We were being very funny. And we were both laughing maniacally. Her on the train home from work, and me on the plane home from her. And it was a great reading experience, and I recommend you pick it up. It's good. It's good. I'm sad that I read it so early, though, because now I have to wait for the next one. And that's annoying. Hey, you know what we should do next? We should do the other paranormal romance. I read Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. Listen, the only other shifter romance I've read is the Unbound, Broken, Unleashed trilogy. Dark Moon Shifters, that's what it's called. I've probably read others, but this is like the only ones that I remember and I really enjoyed. But, hear me out, there were no wolf shifters, there was no nodding, none of that shit. None of that Omegaverse shit that I don't care for. So knowing that this book had that, pick it up knowing it was an enemies to lovers, vampire times werewolf romance. I have to file a complaint against Ellie Hazelwood for making me enjoy technically an Omegaverse romance. What the fuck, Ellie? What the actual fuck? Yeah, this is second place if you ignore Hunger Games, which is still up here. I put the rest of them away, but because that one's a reread. That's the favorite of the month. Second place for favorite of the month. It was good. I got obsessed. I have also got multiple other people in the book club to read it. Because one of them, it's such her vibes. And so I was like, you have to read this. And then she got one of the other members to also read it. And so they're both reading it right now, and they're like talking about the wedding. And I'm like, my dude, that's like the very beginning. You have so much to go. So much is about to happen to you. You're about to hear about a lot of things happening to her with knots. Yeah. Anyways, I liked it. 4.5 stars. I don't, what came over me? I don't know. I blame Ali Hazelwood. I own a lot of Ali Hazelwoods. I should read them. Also, the only complaint I have about it is the whole time I was reading it, still now, to this day, the stupid ad on the front of my Kindle is for Bride, as I was reading Bride, as well as none of the other books by Ali Hazelwood I haven't read. The ones I don't, like, I even own a few, and it wasn't doing those ones. No. It was giving me ads for Bride, the one I'm currently reading. Love Hypothesis, that I have already reread this year, and the novellas, the 3 novellas, this feminist novella trilogy that you can get as like one book or as 3 individual. I did a whole entire vlog on those ones. Like, Kindle, you're connected to my Goodreads. You know this. Shut up. Alright, next thing we're going to talk about some weekend reading vlogs. I'm just going to put the playlist up above the cards. I don't want to individually like each one because I'm going to be tired after editing this beast. Ruby Red. This is the one that went up in September, despite the fact that I recorded it earlier than the other one. Oh, I forgot one book or podcast one. That's fine. We'll talk about it in a second. It went up later than the one that I read after this one, because it is one that the Fish put in, and Fish's birthday is in September. That's why. It is Ruby Red, which is a YA sci-fi fantasy kind of romance. Hear me out. I liked all of it until the very end, because, and hear me out, we talk about fucking romance. Why did he suddenly kiss her? There should be no kissing here. There should be no kissing here. As far as her and us as the audience knows, he has some kind of relationship with her cousin, and constantly spends his time berating her. It gets better. She does at one point have a breakdown at him because he's like berating her after she saves his life, kills a guy to save his life, and she's like, "Bitch, what the fuck?" And he's all like, "Yeah, okay, you're right. I'm sorry." Basically the premise of this one is she's from a bunch of time travelers and whatnot. And it's like one person from each bloodline, blah, blah, blah. And it's supposed to be her cousin because it's like math done on the specific day you were born. And she was born the day after, blah, blah, blah. So like, it's not gonna be her, except her mother lied and she was actually born that day. And it is her. She has no training. And now she's suddenly thrust into this world of mystery. There's some weird, creepy shit happening. There's a bunch of time travel. I like time travel. I like stuff that plays with time. Which is weird because they said I wouldn't like it, so that worries me for the later books. But I really loved it. Also, I think this is the first book that I read that was a German translation. Or translated from German. So that's fun. Yeah, I will finish the series. It was a fast read, 3.75. We're getting so close. The other weekend reading vlog, much longer. The Good House. The Good House. I soft DNF'd it in February. And I pulled it out of the jar and I went, okay, fine. Hear me out. It takes about 25% for me to get into it. And then once it got to that point, I was invested, okay? And I really liked the ending. I think if it was any other book, with that twist at the ending, not even the twist, the resolution at the ending, I wouldn't have liked it. But the way that it was done and the way she wrote it, I could understand why she did it that way, and it makes sense for the characters. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can understand it, and I appreciate it. I think if it was any other book or done any other way, I would have absolutely despised it and been like, what the fuck is this? What was the point of reading this? That being said, it is just short of 600 pages. For the love of God, why? I liked it, but not 600 pages. Not 600 pages worth. 3.5 stars. Alright, podcast one I forgot about. It was A Heart So Fierce and Broken, which is the second book in the Cursebreaker series. A Curse So Dark and Lonely. Literally the whole entire podcast episode was me trying to remember the name of that first book. We had heard that the second book and third book definitely go very far downhill, especially for what they do to one of the side characters in the first one. Well, kind of main character, the other love interest in the first one. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I read it myself, and then I would explain to the fish, and if the fish wanted to read it, they'd forget in like 3 months, and it'd be fine. So explain to me why I loved it. You was like setting up a bunch of really interesting stuff for the third book, and like the hero, like I don't want to spoil anything because like it's a second book in a trilogy. But yeah, I didn't mind it. I see the vision. I like it. 4 stars. Did it have to be 450 pages? I don't think so. But I did really like it. And I also liked the romance. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. We're gonna talk about the one last one that is not a Tessa Dare, and then we get to talk about last month's and well, August and September's favorite. I read Sisters of the Lost Nation by Nick Medina when I've wanted to read for a while. I think it was a Books and Lala Literally Dead Book Club pick a few months ago that I wasn't able to get my hands on because like a new release. Yeah, it was at Bessie's library. I saw in like the new books, and so I was like, ooh, right? 3 stars. It was good. There was a lot of focus on the supernatural stuff for it to all be a red herring and not actually be happening, I think. I don't know. That being said, I did like it. The actual mystery aspect was cool. I like the fact that there was the different times and it was like jumping around and you got the exact time on each day, and so you had to like do the math in your head and figure out what in the timeline you were at and all this stuff. That was a fun time. Yeah. That's all I have to say about it. I get why he did the ending the way he did. He does explain why he did it. 3 stars. It was good. I recommend it. It wasn't my favorite mystery thriller, but it was a good read. And I'm glad I picked it up. Wow, into Tessa Dare territory. So, the Judge's Steal, I went in the Tessa Dare section of the library, and I went, well, they have the first few books in the series available right now. I think the third one was out. The fourth one isn't out yet, but the third one somebody had out. So I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. And then I hyperfixated on it, and it is so close to competing with, where is my favorite Tessa Dare? A Week to Be Wicked as my favorite Tessa Dare. I might have to buy this whole trilogy. What the fuck? This is everything I love about Tessa Dare's writing, mixed with some of my favorite romance tropes. I was having a great time. It is the book made for me. That is why it beats the sequel, The Governess Game. Despite the fact that The Governess Game also got 5 stars. It beats it for, in the bracket thing, for favorites. That one I also gave 5 stars. I gave both of them 5 stars. I immediately went and grabbed that one as well. That was the last thing I read while I was there. Very sad. That one is... Should I actually talk about what they're about? Possibly. But that one's less like reading the synopsis of that one, I didn't think I was gonna like it. Like it has stuff that I really didn't think I would enjoy reading, including power imbalance stuff. But she did it again, fam. She did it again, and I loved it. And 5 stars. What are they about? The Duchess Deal is about a woman who basically has no money, and goes to the ex-fiance of a woman she made a wedding dress for to be like, hey, pay for this wedding dress she never paid for because I need the fucking money, and I'm a seamstress, right? He was in war and he was, I think, blown up, and so he's like very, I was picturing, I think it's supposed to be Beauty and the Beast, but I was 100% picturing the Phantom from Phantom Opera. Okay? I'm gonna be honest. So he is all like, fine, but also you could just marry me. And she's like, bitch, what the fuck, no. And she says no, and she moves on with her life. And then he shows back up and he's all like, okay, like, seriously, I need to get married to have heirs, and that is literally the only reason you'd be set for life. You wouldn't have to worry about all that stuff. Once you have a son, we won't have to see each other ever again. All this stuff, like, you don't have to worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And eventually she agrees because she has no other options. They get married. He is expecting a high society lady who can't enjoy sex. No. I'm not expecting to have a well-educated woman who has done the ding-a-ling and enjoys it and is very vocal about it. And he's like, wait a second, what? There was at one point when he does let her see all of him for the first time while they go at it, right? And at this point, she's already pregnant, and she knows she's pregnant. And there's this whole story where his ex-fiance, one time he let her see all of him after the accident, she like threw up and was like, how could I marry that thing, right? And so she throws up after they do the act, and he's all like, oh, obviously, see, I was right, I am the monster, right? And she's all like, bitch, I'm pregnant, what the fuck you talking about? He goes and scares the living daylights out of her dad, who abandoned her. Oh my god, that was hilarious. I was dying. It was so good. It was just everything I would love in a book, right? Great times. Governess Game follows one of her best friends who, during that one, she runs into a guy at a library and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. The two of them, like, she was interested in him, but she's like, okay, like, I'll ever run into him again. Accidentally runs into him again. Because she, like, fixes his clocks. He now, runs the family estate, right? And she's there to fix clocks. He assumes that she's there to be the new governess for, his two wards, who are possibly his dad's children. And yeah, so it's a lot of him being like, I don't want kids of my own because I don't think I deserve to have this title and everything and love and all this stuff. And her being like, oh no, I already like him. And she becomes a governess. This is like the whole thing with the power imbalance where she works for him, but he's teaching her about some loving things. You know what I'm saying. Right. But yeah, no, it's a lot of just like that. They have a cute little family though. The two of them and the two wards is cute, and I do like that aspect, right? And she helps him realize that, yeah, okay, this thing may have happened in your past that was traumatic, but like, and it may have partially been your fault, but like, hey, maybe you should blame the guy who murdered another guy, not you. Right? Also, I love the play on the rake being a rake, but like, the reason why he's so popular with the ladies is not because he's a rake, but because he won't bang-a-ling a woman. He won't go full. So he does a lot of things that is specifically pleasurable to a woman. And so that's why the ladies love him. And that is kind of funny. I did like that aspect. You know, obviously they like each other, blah, blah, blah. Romance. Stars. They're happily in love. And I think in the epilogue, she is pregnant. So, that's that. 5 stars. And that's everything. Yes, I ended on the 2 best ones. Shut up. Let me live. We're finally done. This is 6 years long. I have other things I need to do. On top of editing this. That's going to take me hours. We're not talking about it. So, yeah, thank you for coming to this. Weekend or Friday video will be me playing Graveyard Keeper because October. Next week's video is Spooned vlog. Fridays are the podcast. Sometimes we're kind of officially lowering it down to every other week. Officially starting next year, but like it may be starting a little bit earlier because we did that in September. Right, just to make things easier on both of us. And so yeah, that's also linked below. All the vlogs are linked below, except the weekend ones. The weekend ones will just be in the playlist up above. This was a fun time. Pray for editing me. And I will go. Yeah, thanks for coming to the video.